The chamber was cold. It had been cold for 50,000 years. Taesung stood at the entrance looking at the thing that had killed almost 2,000 beings. The eternal throne sat in the center of the room, glowing with a soft blue light that never changed. "You cannot be serious about this," Ambassador Krelvoth said behind him. The Vaxian's 6 arms crossed over his chest in what Taesung had learned was a sign of deep concern. "Every species has tried. Every species has failed. What makes you think humans are different?" Taesung did not answer right away. He was studying the floor, looking at the marks left by those who had tried before. Scorch marks, frozen patches, places where the stone had melted and reformed. Each mark told a story of someone who thought they were ready. "That is exactly the problem," Taesung finally said. "Everyone thinks they are ready. Everyone thinks they are worthy." Hana touched her brother's shoulder. As a human diplomat to the Galactic Council, she had learned to read the moods of dozens of alien species. Right now she could feel the anger building in the chamber. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy were watching them. Many did not like humans. Humans were young. Humans were loud. Humans asked too many questions. "Brother, please think carefully," Hana said in Korean, knowing the translator would share her words with everyone. "If you die, it will not just be your death. It will be Earth's reputation, humanity's future in the Council." "I know," Taesung said. He turned to face the assembled aliens. "I have studied every record of every attempt. I have read the journals of those who tried and failed. I have analyzed the energy patterns with our best computers, and I have found something." High Curator Misra floated forward. The luminary was pure energy held in a containment field, glowing yellow and orange like a small star. She had studied the throne longer than humans had existed as a species. "What could you possibly find that I have not seen in 3,000 years? Taesung pulled up a holographic display. Everyone who approached the throne believed they deserved to activate it. The Korthan Empire sent their greatest warrior. The Luminari sent their wisest philosopher. The Vaxians sent their most honored scientist. All of them died within seconds of crossing the barrier." "Yes, we know this," Krelvoth said impatiently. "The throne judges and finds all wanting. This is why many believe it is a weapon, not a tool. Perhaps the precursors built it to kill anyone who found it." "No," Taesung said. He changed the hologram to show brain scans. "Look at these readings. They are from the last 5 attempts. All of these beings had similar brain patterns when they approached. Confidence, certainty, a strong sense of self-worth." "And this is bad?" Misra asked. "For the throne, yes. I think it is testing for something else. Something no one has shown it yet." The chamber erupted in noise. Dozens of species began talking at once, their translators creating a chaos of sound. An elder of the Vorek species, Throskarn, raised his massive clawed hand for silence. He was old even for his kind, and his scales were pale with age. "I have watched 400 beings die trying to reach that cursed object," Throskarn said. His voice was deep and sad. "I believe it is evil. It wants to kill. It enjoys killing. We should destroy it and forget the precursors ever existed." "We cannot destroy it," Krelvoth said. "Every weapon we have used on it has been absorbed or reflected. The throne is indestructible." "Then we should leave it alone," Throskarn said. "Let it sit here for another 50,000 years." "I cannot do that," Taesung said. Everyone turned to look at him. The inscriptions around the chamber tell a story. The precursors did not build this as a trap. They built it as a test. And they left a message. It says, "Only those who see their own shadow may sit in the light." "Poetry," Krelvoth said dismissively. "The precursors loved their riddles. It means nothing." "It means everything," Taesung said. "A shadow is the dark part of yourself, the part you do not want others to see." Everyone who approached the throne was trying to show only their light, their achievements, their worthiness. But the throne wants to see the shadow too. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. She understood what her brother was saying, and it terrified her. "Taesung, no. You cannot mean I am going to approach the throne," Taesung said. "But I am not going to pretend I am worthy. I am going to tell it the truth. I am going to show it my shadow." The chamber exploded in protests. Krelvoth's 6 arms waved in agitation. Misra's light flickered with what might have been anger or fear. Throskarn simply shook his head. "This is madness," Krelvoth said. "The Council cannot allow this. Humans have been part of galactic society for only 600 years. You are children playing with weapons you do not understand. Maybe that is why it has to be a human. Taesung said quietly. Maybe children see things that adults have forgotten. Hana wanted to stop him. She wanted to drag him out of the chamber and back to Earth where he would be safe. But she knew her brother. When Taesung believed something, nothing could change his mind. She had seen it their whole lives. He had failed the entrance exam for the xenoarchaeology program 3 times before finally passing. He had been rejected by a dozen research teams before finding one that would take him. He had faced failure after failure, and each time he had gotten back up. Maybe that was his shadow. Maybe that was what made him different from all the others who had tried. I will need 48 hours to prepare, Taesung said. I need to review my research and get my mind ready. The council will need to vote on this, Krelvoth said. Then vote quickly, Taesung said. Because I am doing this whether you approve or not. Hana closed her eyes. Her brother was going to get himself killed, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. She could only hope that his crazy theory was right. That the throne wanted to see weakness instead of strength. That being human, with all their flaws and failures, might be exactly what the precursors had been waiting for all along. The chamber slowly emptied as the representatives went to cast their votes. Taesung stayed staring at the throne. Hana stood beside him. Are you scared? She asked. Terrified, he admitted. But I have to try. Something tells me this is important. More important than just solving an old mystery. Hana looked at the throne. Its blue light seemed to pulse as if it was listening to them. She hoped her brother was right. She hoped the throne would see his shadow and let him live. But deep down she was preparing to bring his body home to Earth. Captain Dae-hyun hated this assignment. He was a soldier, not a babysitter. But orders were orders, and the order said he had to keep this crazy scientist alive for the next 48 hours, even if the scientist was planning to kill himself in front of the entire galaxy. You should eat something, Dae-hyun said, pushing a tray of food across the table. They were in a small room near the throne chamber. Taesung had not left it for 12 hours. Not hungry, Taesung said. He was staring at a screen filled with data. Names, dates, species. All the beings who had died trying to reach the throne. You need to keep your strength up, Dae-hyun insisted. If you are going to walk into that death trap, at least do it on a full stomach. Taesung finally looked up. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. Do you think I'm crazy, Captain? Dae-hyun considered lying. But humans were bad at lying to each other. Something about reading micro-expressions and body language that 600 years of space travel had not changed. Yes, he said honestly. I think you are completely insane. But I also think you might be right. That surprised Taesung. Really? I have been a soldier for 15 years, Dae-hyun said. I have fought in 3 wars. I have seen a lot of death. And I have learned that the beings who survive are not always the strongest or the smartest. Sometimes they are just the ones who see things differently than everyone else. Before Taesung could respond, the door opened. A young woman rushed in, carrying a portable computer. Her name was Jiwoo, and she was one of Earth's best AI specialists. She had been analyzing the throne's energy patterns from orbit. I found something, Jiwoo said breathlessly. Look at this. She threw her data onto the main screen. It showed a graph with hundreds of lines, each one representing a failed attempt to reach the throne. What am I looking at? Taesung asked. Death speeds, Jiwoo said. I measured how long it took for each being to die after crossing the barrier. And I found a pattern. The more confident they were, the faster they died. The Korthan warrior died in 0.3 seconds. The luminary philosopher lasted 0.7 seconds. But look at this one. She highlighted a line near the bottom. This was a Sylphine merchant who approached the throne 500 years ago. According to the records, she was having doubts about her worthiness. She had recently lost her business and was feeling like a failure. She lasted almost 2 full seconds before the throne killed her. Taesung leaned forward. 2 seconds. That is 6 times longer than anyone else. Exactly, Jiwoo said. The throne responded to her doubt. It took longer to reject her because she was already rejecting herself. So I was right, Taesung said. The throne does not want confidence. It wants something else. Humility, Dae-hyun said. Everyone looked at him. The captain shrugged. What? I read philosophy sometimes. Knowing you are flawed is not the same as being weak. It is actually harder than pretending to be perfect. Taesung smiled. It was the first time Dae-hyun had seen him smile since they arrived on Veltaris. Thank you, Captain. You just helped me figure out what I need to do. Great, Dae-hyun said. Does this mean you will eat now? The door opened again. This time it was Hana. She looked exhausted. The council voted. You have permission to make your attempt. But there are conditions. What conditions? Taesung asked. You must wear a tracker so they can monitor your vital signs. You must go alone. And you must broadcast everything live to the entire galaxy. They want to make a show of it, Dae-hyun said angrily. If you die, they want everyone to see that humans are not special. Maybe, Hana said. Or maybe they want to learn from your failure. Either way, those are the terms. I accept, Taesung said immediately. Hana sat down heavily. I tried to get them to change the conditions. I called in every favor I had. But too many species want to see this happen. Some hope you will succeed. Most hope you will fail. What do you hope? Taesung asked his sister. I hope you will change your mind, Hana said. But I know you better than that. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Jiwoo spoke up. I have been thinking about something. The precursors were supposed to be an ancient and wise race, right? They seeded life across the galaxy. They built impossible technology. So why would they make a test that kills everyone who tries it? Maybe they were not as wise as we think, Taesung said. Or maybe they were testing for something very specific. Something that only appears when a species reaches a certain point in their development. Like what? Dae-hyun asked. The ability to question yourself, Taesung said. Young species are arrogant. They have to be, to survive. They fight and compete and prove themselves. But eventually, if they live long enough, they start to wonder if they are doing things right. They start to see their own mistakes. That is when real wisdom begins. So you think humans are ready for this test because we are young enough to still doubt ourselves? Jiwoo asked. I think humans are ready because we have always been good at failing, Taesung said. We fail more than any other species I have studied. We try things that do not work. We make mistakes. We hurt each other and then try to fix it. Failure is part of our culture. Dae-hyun laughed. It was a bitter sound. Great. We are the galaxy's best failures. That is something to be proud of. It is, Taesung said seriously, because every failure teaches you something. And if you fail enough times, you start to understand that being wrong is not the end of the world. It is just part of learning. Hana looked at her brother with tears in her eyes. When did you get so wise? I am not wise, Taesung said. That is the whole point. Over the next day and a half, Taesung prepared. But he did not prepare the way others had. He did not meditate or pray. He did not practice being worthy. Instead, he made a list. It was a long list of every mistake he had ever made, every failure, every embarrassing moment, every time he had been wrong about something. What are you doing? Dae-hyun asked, reading over his shoulder. Getting ready to meet the throne, Taesung said. I am going to tell it everything I have done wrong. If it wants to see my shadow, I am going to show it the whole thing. That is the saddest preparation ritual I have ever seen, Dae-hyun said. Maybe, Taesung said, but it is honest. The galaxy was watching. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds tuned in to watch the human attempt the impossible. Some watched with hope. Most watched with curiosity. Many watched hoping to see humans put in their place. On Earth, an old professor named Sung-min watched with his students. He had taught Taesung years ago, back when the young man kept failing his exams. Pay attention, Sung-min told his class. You are about to see either the greatest success or the greatest failure in human history. Either way, you will learn something. In a laboratory, a neurobiologist named Yoonbi was recording everything. She had studied human consciousness for her entire career. Something about what Taesung was attempting felt important to her work, though she could not explain why. The time came. Taesung stood at the entrance to the throne chamber. He wore a simple jumpsuit with a tracker on his wrist. He carried only a small recorder to document what happened. Hana hugged him one last time. Come back, she whispered. I will try, he said. He stepped into the chamber. The door closed behind him. The throne sat waiting, glowing blue and ancient and deadly. Taesung took a breath. Then he started walking forward, talking to himself about every stupid thing he had ever done. About the time he miscalculated a dig site and destroyed artifacts. About the relationships he had ruined. About the people he had disappointed. The barrier should have killed him within 3 steps. But Taesung kept walking, and the galaxy watched in disbelief as a human did what no one else had ever done. He crossed the barrier, and he lived. The first step across the barrier felt like walking through water. The second step felt like ice on his skin. By the third step, Taesung realized he was still alive, and his heart started pounding so hard he thought it might burst from his chest. The galaxy watched in silence. In the observation chamber, Hana gripped the railing so tight her knuckles turned white. Daehyun stood beside her, his soldier's training keeping him still, but his eyes were wide with shock. This was not possible. Nothing survived crossing that barrier. Taesung kept walking. He kept talking to his recorder, listing his failures. I failed my entrance exams 3 times. I was rejected by 12 research teams. I missed my father's funeral because I was too focused on a dig that turned out to be worthless. I have been wrong about almost everything important in my life. The throne's blue glow began to change. It shifted to purple, then to a color that had no name, a color that hurt to look at. Taesung kept walking. 5 steps, 10 steps, 15. He was closer to the throne than anyone had ever been. I do not deserve this, he said, and his voice cracked. I do not deserve to be here. I am not the smartest human. I'm not the bravest. I am just someone who refused to give up, even when giving up would have been smarter. At 20 steps, the throne began to hum. The sound was deep and ancient, like the universe itself was breathing. Taesung stopped. He was now only 10 meters from the throne. He could see details that had never been recorded before. The surface was not metal or stone. It was something else, something that seemed to exist in more dimensions than 3. Then the air in front of him shimmered, and a figure appeared. It was made of light, but not like the luminary. This light was cold and mathematical, like it was made of pure information instead of energy. The figure had no clear face, but Taesung felt it looking at him. Judging him, finally, the figure said. Its voice came through Taesung's translator, but he somehow knew it was speaking a language that had not been heard in 50,000 years. Finally one comes who sees. Who are you? Taesung asked. I am what remains, the figure said. The last echo of the precursors. I am the guardian of the throne. I am the test, and you have passed the first barrier. There are more? Taesung asked weakly. The figure tilted its head. Every being who came before you died because they believed they had the right to claim the throne. They came with certainty, with pride, with achievements they wanted to share. But the throne was not built for the proud. It was built for those who understand their own limitations. Why? Taesung asked. Why make a test like this? Because power without humility is destruction, the figure said. The precursors learned this too late. We were ancient and wise and powerful. We shaped galaxies. We created life. We thought ourselves as gods. And when the darkness came, our pride blinded us. We could not imagine that anything could threaten us. So we died. Taesung felt the weight of those words. An entire species, gone because they could not see their own shadow. What darkness? What killed the precursors? The figure moved closer. That is what the throne will tell you if you can complete the test. I will ask you 3 questions. Answer them truthfully and the throne is yours. Lie, even to make yourself look better, and you will die like all the others. Taesung nodded. His mouth was dry. I understand. First question, the figure said. What is humanity's greatest achievement? This was a trap. Taesung could feel it. The figure wanted him to boast, to talk about human art or science or exploration, but that was not the truth. Our greatest achievement is not something we have done, Taesung said slowly. It is something we keep trying to do. We keep trying to be better than we were yesterday. We keep trying to fix our mistakes. We keep trying to understand each other, even though we often fail. The trying is the achievement, not the success. The figure was silent for a long moment. Then it said, second question. Why should your species be trusted with precursor knowledge? Another trap. If he said humans deserved it, he would die. If he said humans were special, he would die. Taesung thought about Hana, working every day to build bridges between species. He thought about Daehyun, a soldier who read philosophy. He thought about Jiwoo, who had stayed up for days analyzing data just to help him. We should not be trusted, Taesung said. We will probably misuse it. We will make mistakes. We will argue about what to do with it. But we will also share it. We will ask for help. We will admit when we are wrong. Maybe that is enough. Maybe the species who know they cannot be trusted are the only ones who can be. The figure seemed to glow brighter. Third question. What do you want from the throne? This was the hardest question. Taesung thought about all the reasons he had come here. Fame, recognition, solving the mystery, proving himself. All of those things were true, but they were not the whole truth. I want to know if I was right, Taesung said quietly. I have spent my whole life being wrong, making mistakes, failing, and I have made peace with that. But just once I want to know if I saw something that others missed. Not because I am better, but because I was too stupid to know I should not try. I want to know if my failure taught me something valuable. The figure reached out and touched Taesung's forehead. The touch was cold but not painful. You have passed, the figure said. You see your shadow. You carry it with you. You do not hide from it. This is what we sought. This is what we needed. The world exploded. That was the only way Taesung could describe it later. Information poured into his mind. Not words or images, but pure understanding. He saw the rise of the precursors. He saw them spread across galaxies. He saw them grow proud and certain and blind. He saw the darkness come, a thing from beyond reality, a thing that fed on consciousness itself. He saw the precursors die one by one, unable to comprehend that they could be defeated. He saw them build the throne in their final days, a weapon and a warning, a test to find a species that had learned what they had not. And he saw what was coming. The darkness was returning. It moved on a cycle, 50,000 years long. It would arrive soon, and when it came, it would consume every thinking mind in the galaxy, unless someone stopped it. Taesung screamed. The information was too much. His human brain was not built to hold the thoughts of a species millions of years more advanced. Blood ran from his nose. His vision went dark. The last thing he heard was Dae-hyun shouting his name. Then the captain was there, running across the chamber, breaking every protocol to reach him. Dae-hyun caught Taesung as he fell, and together they collapsed beside the throne. The figure of light faded. The throne's glow returned to its original blue. In the observation chamber, alarms were blaring. Hana was screaming for medical help. Krelvoth's 6 arms were frozen in shock. Misra's light flickered with what might have been hope or fear. On Earth, Professor Sungmin watched his former student collapse and whispered, "He did it. The fool actually did it." Yunbi stared at her screens, watching Taesung's brain activity. It was impossible. His neural patterns were rewriting themselves in real time, adapting to hold information that should have destroyed his mind. She grabbed her recorder and started documenting everything. This was the most important neurological event in human history. They carried Taesung out of the chamber. He was still breathing, but he would not wake up. His body was alive, but his mind was somewhere else, processing 50,000 years of precursor knowledge. Hana rode with him to the medical bay, holding his hand. "Wake up," she whispered. "Please wake up. Tell me it was worth it." But Taesung did not wake up. Not that day or the next or the day after that. He lay in a medical pod, his brain showing activity that doctors had never seen before. They said he was thinking, always thinking, processing, learning. On the 3rd day, his eyes finally opened. He looked at Hana and she saw that her brother had changed. His eyes held knowledge that made him seem ancient. "It is coming," he whispered, "and we are not ready." Taesung stood before the Galactic Council and told them they were all going to die. He said it calmly, the way you might comment on the weather. That made it worse somehow. "The hollow convergence," he said, and the translated words made several species shudder. "That is what the precursors called it. It exists outside our dimensions. It feeds on consciousness, on thought itself. Every 50,000 years it crosses into our reality to feed. The precursors tried to stop it and failed. They built the throne as a weapon against it, but the weapon requires something they did not have." "What is that?" Krelvoth asked. The ambassador's voice was strained. He had read the preliminary reports. They all had. Taesung's brain now contained knowledge that made precursor technology understandable. If he said something was coming, it was coming. "Unity," Taesung said. "The throne is not a weapon one being can use. It requires minds from different species, all connected together. The precursors were too similar. Their thoughts were too unified. The weapon needs diversity. It needs different ways of thinking working together." "This is absurd," said Council Director Zenthor. The Krillian was tall and thin, with skin like chrome. "You expect us to believe that an extra-dimensional threat is coming, based on information downloaded into your head by an ancient computer? This could be a malfunction, a trick, a human plot for control." Hana stood up from her seat. "Director Zenthor, My brother has provided detailed schematics for precursor technology. Our engineers have tested them. They work, every single one works. Why would he lie about a threat? To make humanity seem important, Xanthor said coldly. To give your young species a role it has not earned. When is it coming? Asked Throskarn. The old Vorek had been quiet until now. How long do we have? Taesung met his eyes. The precursor's calculations said we had 10 years. But their calculations were wrong. The convergence does not move in straight lines. It sends scouts ahead. Parasites that infect minds and prepare the way. Those scouts have been here for decades. The chamber erupted in noise. Panic spread like fire. Taesung waited for silence, then continued. The precursors left maps. Locations of technology fragments scattered across the galaxy. If we can gather them and connect them to the throne, we can activate the defense network. But it will require cooperation from every species. Every world. We have to work together or we all die. And you expect us to simply trust you? Xanthor demanded. No, Taesung said tiredly. I expect you to verify everything I have said. Send teams to the locations I provided. Find the fragments. Study them. But do it quickly, because the scouts are already here and they are waking up. A human engineer named Bora was part of the first team sent to verify Taesung's claims. They traveled to a dead world called Kresh 7, where he said a precursor facility was buried 3 kilometers underground. Most of the team thought they would find nothing. They found everything. The facility was enormous, filled with technology that made no sense until Bora applied the principles Taesung had shared. Then it made perfect sense. She stood in a room full of devices that could reshape matter, and she cried, not from joy but from fear. If the precursors had technology like this and still lost to the convergence, what hope did younger species have? Back on Earth, a human ethics philosopher named Young Jae was having different concerns. He was assigned to evaluate the moral implications of what Taesung had learned. He wrote a report that kept him awake for days. One human now controls information that could change civilization, Young Jae wrote. This violates every principle of shared knowledge and democratic control. Taesung is a good person, but good people can still make mistakes. What happens if he is wrong? What happens if he is right but makes a bad decision? Should one species, one person have this power? Taesung read the report. Young Jae had expected anger. Instead, Taesung invited him to talk. You are right, Taesung said. They were sitting in a quiet garden on Veltaris. I should not have this power. No one person should. But I do not know how to share it. Every time I try to explain what I know, it comes out wrong. The knowledge is not in words. It is in understanding. I can use it, but I cannot easily teach it. Then we need to find a way, Young Jae said, or this will tear the galaxy apart. He was more right than he knew. Xanthor was building a coalition of species who wanted Taesung mind-wiped and the throne destroyed. They called themselves the Preservation Faction. They argued that precursor knowledge was too dangerous, that humanity was too young to be trusted, that the convergence was probably just a myth. Hana worked 18 hours a day trying to counter them. She built alliances with species who believed Taesung. She showed them the fragments Bora's team had found. She argued that even if the convergence was not coming, precursor technology could improve life across the galaxy. But fear was spreading. Fear of humans, fear of change, fear of ancient threats. Then Nari, Hana's young aide, found something that changed everything. She was reviewing old council records when she noticed patterns in voting behavior. Certain delegates had been acting strangely for years, making small decisions that made no sense, blocking cooperation initiatives, spreading distrust. It is the scouts, Nari said, showing Hana her research. The convergence parasites. They have been influencing the council for decades. Look at these voting patterns. It is like someone has been trying to keep species apart, to prevent exactly the kind of unity we need now. Hana felt cold. How many are infected? I do not know, Nari said. But I think Xanthor might be one of them. They brought the evidence to Taesung. He studied it with his new knowledge and confirmed Nari's suspicions. The convergent scouts were real. They were here, and they were trying to stop the galaxy from uniting. We need to expose them, Hana said. No, Taesung said. If we accuse infected beings publicly, it will cause more division. We need to work quietly, find the scouts, remove them if we can. But most importantly, we need to gather the precursor fragments before the convergence realizes we know about them. Daehyun led missions to recover fragments. It was dangerous work. Some fragments were in disputed territory. Others were guarded by species who did not want humans touching ancient technology. Bora went with him, using her new understanding of precursor systems to identify and extract the fragments safely. On one mission to a world called Terras 9, they were ambushed. Not by aliens, but by other humans. A private military company that wanted to claim precursor technology for themselves. Daehyun's team fought them off, but it was close. He contacted Hana from the ship afterward. It is not just aliens we need to worry about. Some humans want this power too. I know, Hana said quietly. Greed does not care about species. Jiwoo continued analyzing the convergence from Earth. She built predictive models of how the parasites spread, how they influenced behavior, how they prepared worlds for the main invasion. Her models were terrifying. If her calculations were right, the convergence would arrive in less than 5 years, not 10. She called Taesung to share her findings. We are running out of time. Even if we gather all the fragments, will it be enough? It has to be, Taesung said. But he did not sound certain. For the first time since waking up with precursor knowledge, he sounded scared. The fear was spreading to other humans too. Soo-jin, a young volunteer working with the fragment recovery teams, asked Taesung a question that many were thinking. What if we fail? What if we cannot stop the convergence? Should we be preparing evacuation plans? Building ships to flee to other galaxies? There is nowhere to run, Taesung said gently. The convergence exists outside normal space. It can follow consciousness anywhere. Our only choice is to fight. Professor Sungmin, watching from Earth, understood what his former student was going through. The burden of knowing. The weight of being responsible for billions of lives. He recorded a message and sent it to Taesung. You were always my worst student, the message said. You failed more than anyone else in your class. But you also never gave up. That stubborn refusal to quit is what got you to the throne. Do not lose it now. The galaxy needs someone who knows how to fail and keep trying. Taesung watched the message 3 times. Then he called a meeting of everyone working on the fragments: Bora, Daehyun, Jiwoo, Youngjae, Nari, dozens of others. We have recovered 17 fragments, he told them. We need 37 to activate the weapon network. We have maybe 4 years left. It is not enough time. Then what do we do? Bora asked. We do what humans do best, Taesung said. We improvise. We fail, we try again. And we convince everyone else to fail with us. That night, long-range sensors detected something at the edge of council space. Ships that should not exist. Ships made of darkness that absorbed all light. Ships that registered as alive on the sensors. The convergence had not sent scouts this time. It had sent a fleet. And it was not waiting 4 years. It was attacking now. The colony world of Hesper 3 went silent first. 3 million beings lived there. 17 different species. Then the sensors went dark, and when the council sent a ship to investigate, they found something worse than death. The planet was still there. The building still stood, but every living thing had stopped moving. 3 million beings stood frozen, their eyes empty, their minds drained away. The convergence had fed, and all that remained were empty shells. Panic swept through council space. Fleets mobilized. Planets went into lockdown. And in the chaos, Zenthor's preservation faction tried to seize the throne. They claimed Taesung had brought this catastrophe by activating it. They wanted to destroy both the human and the ancient weapon. They failed because Daehyun's security team stopped them, but barely. The fight left 12 beings dead and exposed the truth Nari had suspected. Zenthor was infected by a convergence scout. When they tried to capture him, his body dissolved into living darkness and escaped. The scouts are waking up, Taesung said at an emergency council session. His voice was hoarse from days without sleep. They have been dormant for decades, but now the main fleet is here. They are activating. We need to implement the Unity Protocol immediately. What is this protocol? Krelvoth asked. He looked old now, older than his species-long lifespan should allow. Fear did that. The throne can create a network of linked minds, Taesung explained. Thousands of beings from different species all thinking together. The combined consciousness generates a field that the convergence cannot feed on. It is like poison to them, but the process is dangerous. Linking different kinds of minds is not natural. Many will die trying. Then we are asking beings to volunteer for death, Misra said. The luminary's light was dim with grief. Yes, Taesung said. We are asking for volunteers to link their minds with mine, to channel their consciousness through the throne. Some will survive, some will not. But without enough volunteers, the protocol will not work and everyone dies anyway. The council chamber was silent. Then Throskarn stood. His ancient scales clicked as he moved. I will volunteer. I have lived long enough. If my death can save others, I am ready. I will volunteer too, said Ambassador Kelmaya. She was Sylphine, an insectoid species known for their rigid thinking. She had opposed every human proposal until now. I was wrong about your species. You see things we do not. I want to see them too, even if it costs me everything. One by one beings stood, Vaxians, Luminari, Vorek, Krillians who were not infected, species whose names Taesung barely knew. They stood and volunteered to risk death for a chance to stop the darkness. But there was a problem. Bora explained it in a rushed meeting. We have 17 fragments. We need at least 25 to power the Unity protocol for enough beings. Without more fragments, we can only link a few hundred minds. The models say we need thousands. How long to get more fragments? Daehyun asked. Weeks, maybe months. We do not have weeks, Jiwoo said, pointing at her screens. The convergence fleet is spreading fast. 3 more colonies have gone silent. If we wait for more fragments, there will be no one left to save. Taesung stared at the incomplete weapon network. He could feel the precursor knowledge in his mind, showing him calculations and possibilities. None of them were good. Then he had an idea. A terrible, desperate idea. We use humans as the bridge, he said. Everyone turned to look at him. Human brains are adaptable, Taesung continued. More adaptable than any species the precursors encountered. If we put humans at the connection points between alien minds, we can reduce the power needed for each link. It will hurt. It might destroy our minds, but it could work with the fragments we have. You are asking humans to suffer so aliens can connect safely? Taehyun said slowly. Yes, that is insane. Yes. Daehyun smiled grimly. I am in. What do you need me to do? Word spread to Earth. The government asked for volunteers to join the Unity protocol as bridge nodes. They explained the risks. Brain damage, death, becoming something neither fully human nor fully alien. They expected hundreds to volunteer. 50,000 applications arrived in the first hour. A young woman named Sujin was among the first selected. She had worked on fragment recovery and understood the stakes. My family thinks I am brave, she told the technician, preparing her for the procedure. But I am terrified. I am doing this anyway. That is what bravery is, the technician said. On Earth, Yoonbi, the neurobiologist, was coordinating the medical side. She had studied brain patterns for years, but nothing prepared her for this. Human volunteers would have their consciousness stretched across alien minds, acting as translators between incompatible ways of thinking. The brain damage would be severe, permanent. She cried when she saw Sujin's brain scans after the first test. The young woman could still function, but large portions of her brain had rewired themselves. She would never think the same way again. Does it hurt? Yoonbi asked. Not anymore, Sujin said, but her eyes were different now, like she was seeing more than 3 dimensions. I can feel them. The Sylphine thoughts are sharp and fast. The Vaxian thoughts are layered. It is beautiful. Terrifying, but beautiful. They gathered at the throne, thousands of volunteers from across the galaxy. The chamber had been expanded with connection pods arranged in careful patterns. Taesung stood at the center, at the throne itself. He would be the core node, the consciousness that held all others together. Hana came to see him before it began. You do not have to do this, she said. We can find another way. You have already given enough. There is no other way, Taesung said. He looked tired beyond measure. The precursors tried to stop the convergence with Unity, but they were all too similar. Their thoughts were like one voice. The protocol needs many voices, arguing voices, different voices. That is humanity's gift. We are good at disagreeing. We are good at being different while staying together. What if you die? Hana asked. Then tell them I tried, Taesung said. Tell them a human saw the shadow and walked toward it anyway. The convergence fleet arrived at Veltaris. 20 ships made of living darkness. They began to drain the consciousness from the planet. Billions of beings felt their thoughts slowing, stopping. Then the throne activated. Taesung felt thousands of minds connect to his. It was agony. Each mind was different, thinking in patterns his human brain was not built to comprehend. But the Human Bridge volunteers helped. Sujin and others like her filtered the alien thoughts, making them compatible, creating harmony from chaos. The Convergence felt it too. For the first time in 50,000 years, it encountered resistance. The unified consciousness of the galaxy species, channeled through the throne, generated a field of energy that burned the darkness. But the Convergence was strong. It pushed back. It tried to break the links between minds. Taesung felt beings dying as the strain became too much. He felt Throskarn's ancient consciousness flicker and fade. He felt volunteers screaming as their brains rewired themselves beyond recognition. "Hold," Taesung said through the network. His voice reached thousands of minds at once. "Hold together. We are stronger than them because we are different. They are one thing. We are everything." Inside the network, something beautiful was happening. Species that had never understood each other were suddenly sharing thoughts. A Vaxian scientist felt what it was like to be a luminary poet. A human soldier experienced the ancient patience of a Vorek elder. Beings were changed forever by the connection, but they held. The throne's weapon activated fully. A wave of solidified consciousness exploded outward from Veltaris. It hit the Convergence fleet, and reality itself seemed to scream. The darkness recoiled. Ships made of living shadow began to dissolve. A voice came through the network, vast and cold and hungry. The hollow voice of the Convergence itself. "We consumed the precursors. We will consume you. Resistance only delays feeding." Taesung answered, and his voice carried the thoughts of thousands. The precursors were too perfect, too unified. They could not generate the chaos you feared. But we are not perfect. We argue, we contradict. We are beautiful in our disagreement. And that is something you will never understand. The wave hit the Convergence fleet again, stronger now. The unified minds of the galaxy created patterns that were unpredictable, chaotic, alive in ways the precursors never managed. The Convergence could not feed on chaos. It could not drain consciousness that refused to be uniform. The ships burned. The darkness screamed. And slowly, impossibly, the Convergence began to retreat. It pulled back from Veltaris, from council space, from the galaxy itself. The dimensional rifts that let it cross into reality sealed shut. In the throne chamber, Taesung collapsed. The network dissolved as volunteers disconnected, their minds forever changed but alive. Hana ran to her brother. His eyes were open, but he was staring at something far away. "Did it work?" he whispered. "You did it," Hana said, crying and laughing at once. "You insane, beautiful fool. You saved everyone." Around the galaxy, beings woke from the nightmare. The empty shells on Hesper 3 remained dead, but no new colonies fell silent. The Convergence was gone, pushed back beyond the edges of reality. But the cost was real. 3,000 beings died in the Unity Protocol. Another 10,000 suffered permanent brain damage. They had given their minds so others could keep theirs.